This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Tragedy of Pudd'nhead Wilson by Mark Twain. Chapter 8. Marse Tom Tramples His Chance. The holy passion of friendship is of sweet and steady and loyal and enduring a nature that it will last through a whole lifetime, if not asked to lend money. Pudd'nhead Wilson's Calendar. Consider well the proportions of things. It is better to be a young June bug than an old bird of paradise. Pudd'nhead Wilson's Calendar. It is now necessary to hunt up Roxy. At the time she was set free and went away chambermaiding, she was 35. She got a berth as second chambermaid on a Cincinnati boat in the New Orleans trade, the Grand Mogul. A couple of trips made her wanted and easy-going at the work, and infatuated her with the stir and adventure and independence of steamboat life. Then she was promoted and became head chambermaid. She was a favorite with the officers, and exceedingly proud of their joking and friendly way with her. During 8 years she served 3 parts of the year on that boat, and the winters on a Vicksburg packet. But now for 2 months she had had rheumatism in her arms, and was obliged to let the wash-tub alone. So she resigned. But she was well fixed, rich as she would have described it, for she had lived a steady life and had banked $4 every month in New Orleans as a provision for her old age. She said in the start that she had put shoes on one barefooted nigger to trample on her with, and that one mistake like that was enough. She would be independent of the human race thenceforth forevermore, if hard work and economy could accomplish it. When the boat touched the levee at New Orleans, she bade good-bye to her comrades on the Grand Mogul and moved her kit ashore. But she was back in an hour. The bank had gone to smash and carried her $400 with it. She was a pauper and homeless, also disabled bodily, at least for the present. The officers were full of sympathy for her and her trouble, and made up a little purse for her. She resolved to go to her birthplace. She had friends there among the Negroes, and the unfortunate always help the unfortunate. She was well aware of that. Those lowly comrades of her youth would not let her starve. She took the little local packet at Cairo, and now she was on the home stretch. Time had worn away her bitterness against her son, and she was able to think of him with serenity. She put the vile side of him out of her mind, and dwelt only on recollections of his occasional acts of kindness to her. She gilded and otherwise decorated these, and made them very pleasant to contemplate. She began to long to see him. She would go and fawn upon him, slave-like, for this would have to be her attitude, of course, and maybe she would find that time had modified him, and that he would be glad to see his long-forgotten old nurse and treat her gently. That would be lovely. That would make her forget her woes and her poverty. Her poverty. That thought inspired her to add another castle to her dream. Maybe he would give her a trifle now and then. Maybe $1 once a month, say. Any little thing like that would help, oh, ever so much. By the time she reached Dawson's Landing, she was her old self again. Her blues were gone. She was in high feather. She would get along, surely. There were many kitchens where the servants would share their meals with her, and also steal sugar and apples and other dainties for her to carry home, or give her a chance to pilfer them herself, which would answer just as well. And there was the church. She was a more rabid and devoted Methodist than ever, and her piety was no sham, but was strong and sincere. Yes, with plenty of creature comforts and her old place in the Amen corner in her possession again, she would be perfectly happy and at peace thenceforward to the end. She went to Judge Driscoll's kitchen first of all. She was received there in great form and with vast enthusiasm. Her wonderful travels, and the strange countries she had seen, and the adventures she had had, made her a marvel and a heroine of romance. The negroes hung and chanted upon a great story of her experiences, interrupting her all along with eager questions, with laughter, exclamations of delight, and expressions of applause, and she was obliged to confess to herself that if there was anything better in this world than steamboating, it was the glory to be got by telling about it. The audience loaded her stomach with their dinners, and then stole the pantry bare to load up her basket. Tom was in St. Louis. The servants said he had spent the best part of his time there during the previous 2 years. Roxy came every day and had many talks about the family and its affairs. Once she asked why Tom was away so much. The ostensible Chambers said, "De fac' is, old Marster kin get along better when young Marster's away than he kin when he's in de town. Yes, and he love him better, too, so he gives him $50 a month." "No, is that so? Chambers, you's a jokin', ain't you?" "Glad to goodness I ain't, mammy. Marse Tom told me so his own self. But nem mind, 'tain't enough." "My land, what de reason 'tain't enough?" "Well, I's gwine to tell you if you give me a chance, mammy. De reason it 'tain't enough is 'cause Marse Tom gambles." Roxy threw up her hands in astonishment, and Chambers went on. "Old Marster found it out 'cause he had to pay $200 for Marse Tom's gambling debts, and that's true, mammy, jes' as dead certain as you's born." $200? Why, what is you talking about? $200? Sakes alive, it's most enough to buy a tolerable good second-hand nigger with. And you ain't lying, honey? You wouldn't lie to your old mammy? "It's God's own truth, jes' as I tell you. $200. I wisht I may ne'er stir out in my tracks if it ain't so. And oh my land, old Marser was jes' a hoppin'. He is bilin' mad, I'll tell you. He tuck and disinherit 'em." "Disinwhiched 'em?" "Disinherit 'em." "What's dat? What do you mean?" "Means he busted de will." "Busted de will? He wouldn't ever treat him so. Take it back, you miserable imitation nigger that I bore in sorrow and tribulation." Roxy's pet castle, an occasional dollar from Tom's pocket, was tumbling to ruin before her eyes. She could not abide such a disaster as that. She couldn't endure the thought of it. Her remark amused Chambers. Yeah, just listen to dat. If I's imitation wood as you, both of us is imitation white, that's what we is, and powerful good imitation, too. Yeah, we don't mount to nothing as imitation niggers. And as for